Hey, it's Leisa Erickson, Engel and Volker, St. Pete, downtown, and the beach. I just got done listening to a call with Zillow. So for those of you who do not know this, my background is really in consulting. I used to work with a lot of Fortune 1000 companies, key executives, and so my affinity for understanding companies' objectives at a core level is pretty deep. And so oftentimes I'll go behind the scenes and look deeper as to what an organization is trying to do, Zillow being one of them. I'm watching them very closely for a lot of reasons. What I'm about to tell you probably is more interesting for an agent than you as an end user. So if you're an end user, this may not be as interesting to you as it might be for an agent. But I wanted to share what I heard from the CEO as well as the CFO. So this was Q2 reporting, so there's a little bit of a lag. Q3 report will come out in November, but what I'm going to share with you is from their Q2 results that ended in June, okay? Number one, what they said was they're expecting to see a decline. They can't quite predict what kind of decline they're going to see. They're going to see a decline in probably home valuation. And remember, we're talking about across the U.S. So U.S.-wise, that's what their prediction is. Obviously, the sand states like us here in Florida, Tampa Bay, are sort of West Coast. Probably not going to be as heavily impacted as those states where there's more of a sort of like not as high demand. Maybe more Midwestern states and sort of localities that don't have as high demand for as we would. But here's the interesting part. Aside from that, they were talking about mortgage applications from the Mortgage Bankers Association. At that time, now remember that was Q2, they were not seeing a real decline in mortgage applications. Contrast that with what's about to come right now in third quarter results. I'm going to contrast that because from what everyone has been sharing with me, loan applications have declined dramatically because of interest rate changes. Most of us do know that. The interesting part that I think is the whole mix here is they're reporting a 21% decline in revenues from premier agents like myself. What's the translation for you as an agent? Okay, my hope for you, okay, is that we see the tea leaves before the world sees the tea leaves, right? So be very careful right now about what you're spending your money on in terms of lead generation regarding Zillow, Realtor.com, or any paid advertisers, because they're openly admitting that their traffic to their site is pretty stable. That really hasn't changed very much, but their click-through rate of where people are making an inquiry has changed pretty radically from the buyer demand. And so they're seeing a change of that 21% in their overall premier agent decline. One thing I will tell you, if you are listening to this and you are a Zillow user and you're not an agent, when you click that button, I want to talk to an agent, guess what? You're not talking to a listing agent. You're talking to an agent who paid for you to make that click happen. That can range anywhere, depending on your market, $100 to $500 per click. So when that agent picks up the phone, that person really is a person who's paid for that call to happen. Just want you to be aware of that. So back to you as an agent, be very careful about the money you're going to spend, because undeniably the agents across the U.S. are really seeing a decline in overall click-through rates. So your money that you spent may not be actually reaching the intended audience, and the spend may not get you the result that you have historically been able to get. That's number one. The other thing that I found somewhat, I don't know if it's alarming, disturbing, I'll have to really kind of think this through because I'm processing it, because recently when I've been putting in listings through ShowingTime, for those of you who do not know, ShowingTime was acquired by Zillow. What I noticed recently is their integration attempts. So when I put in a listing last week, when I clicked the ShowingTime integration to make that available for agents to click through and to schedule, something odd came up that I've never seen before, and it said allow real-time availability to be visible to the public. And I was like, what is that? Here's the thing. So that I think, and based on the call that I heard, they're trying to integrate the ShowingTime availability, and the CEO said that they want to make a seamless end-to-end integration. So they're looking at the top end of the funnel, and what they said is that the top end of the funnel is related to mortgage applications. They're heavily investing in their mortgage-based application. They're becoming a lender. You probably know that, so they're going to have Zillow Home Loans. They're investing heavily in that. They spent about $28 million just that last quarter They had a $21 million loss in that front because they're investing heavily in technology to integrate that. So lenders, just FYI, they're going to eat your lunch here pretty quickly. But secondarily, they're trying to create this end-to-end space. They're starting with the mortgage origination side. They're flowing that through to obviously Premier Agent side. They're also doing a partnership with Opendoor, which most of you have heard about. They got out of the iBuying space, but they really didn't because they don't want to carry the burden themselves. So they disposed of the iBuying focus for themselves as Zillow offers, but then they signed a partnership with Opendoor to basically, again, offer sellers that option to basically have an iBuyer scenario happen, but not on their shoulders. So mortgage applications, they're starting with, they're investing in it heavily. Secondarily, they're basically going to the Premier Agent side and to the seller side to say, hey, do you want to sell your house? And if you want an iBuyer, I've got one for you. They're just going to use Opendoor as the source for that. Oh, if you don't want the iBuyer, guess what? We have a Premier Agent who is the people you've clicked on the button for. And then also, they're going to try to make it as simple as they say, as basically scheduling a haircut to basically see a property, which is that whole showing time integration. That's the end-to-end life cycle that they're after. And oh, by the way, they're working on title. So there's a lot going on here in our world. I want you to be aware of it. It's, let's just be honest. Zillow can be our best friend, and they can be our frenemy, okay? So now you know. I'll report back on the Q3 results, but I want you to hear what happened in their last quarterly earnings call. Have an awesome day.